Okay everyone, welcome back to another video on the channel. Today we're back on GT Sport and we're back with the FIA manufacturers race at Catalunya in the Group 3 cars. So this race we had 3 sets of tyres available, softs, medium and hards. Only the hard tyre was required in this race, so basically you weren't going to touch the mediums because, as most people will know, in top split no one will ever use the mediums if the softs are available. The hard tyre was obviously required, so one stint needed to be done on that tyre. For myself in the McLaren, not looking too good around Catalunya. The car really didn't suit this track. I don't know if it was gearing, but I didn't see a single other driver in top split even attempt in this race in the McLaren. They all just left it, didn't want to get involved with it. There was potential in the car if you were really fast, obviously, like Lightning for example in the Lamborghini and P1. Now the Lamborghini was very fast around this track, however still, give credit where it's due, that is an insane lap time that Lightning has put up there into the 1:42s in qualifying. Absolutely incredible job there. For myself, I think we robbed Lightning's slipstream during this qualifying possibly, and we were starting in P11, which for the McLaren it wasn't a brilliant lap. It was a 43.7, not the best lap of the night throughout all the sessions. We did manage a 43.5. Now this was the first slot of the day for myself. It was a second slot overall, so my first attempt at it. Was still trying to get used to the car, if I'm brutally honest. Didn't feel quite comfortable with it. It was taking me a while to get the hang of it. So this race, it was going to be interesting what we can do. Now my main aim obviously is to try and save the rear tyres. The problem with this McLaren is the tyres feel okay for about 3 laps, and then suddenly, once you hit a point with the tyre where they start fading quite drastically. So what I was aiming to do for this was, we're starting from P11. We could have gone for the free stop in this. We know the free stop worked. However, a 2-stop with insane tyre management, maybe really looking after them tyres, could possibly help us maybe pull out some sort of result. We've got Fire behind us, obviously, in that Nissan GTR, which is going to be really fast down the straight, and obviously with Fire's tyre saving ability is obviously going to be becoming stronger and stronger as the race goes on. So for myself here, starting behind P10, we're just going to try and stay in the slipstream. Now the slipstream is so overpowered on this game at the moment, as we all know. As a little bit of chaos going up there, someone sent to the shadow realm, another car off to the shadow realm there, 2 cars into the shadow realm straight away and promoted into P9. So thank you very much there for that promotion into P9, and this is looking like a quite good start to the race. Actually, we're now up to P9 and potential in the first race to get a solid result. Now the main aim for this for myself was just to pick up like 260 points, 250 points from this day, because at the moment, at this point, we had only one of our points scoring rounds was down to 87. The rest are over 300, I think it is, or around 300 to 320, something like that. So we really wanted to get rid of that 87 points. So just anything, any sort of result at this track in this car would be beneficial, because it really was not a good location for the McLaren. And with that tyre wear setting, MR cars were going to suffer with their tyres. So you had to do a lot of tyre management. So what you're going to see me doing is pay attention, particularly in the braking zones and the shifting zones. Listen to the way I'm shifting the car again. I do try and explain this as much as possible. I may rabbit on about this a lot and always mention it, but I like to, if there's anyone new in the channel, I like to just get the point across and just let them know why we're doing things and why it helps out. So on downshifting, you'll notice we're not being too aggressive on the shifts. We're trying to be progressive with each shift into the braking zones and holding the gears for longer. That is going to help look after your rear tyres, because the differential won't lock up, so you're going to save them rear tyres. So we're going to get that out of the way now. That's done, dusted. The rear tyres, that is what we're trying to look after, and that is another reason why we're running that -5 brake bias. That's going to put all the brake force to the front tyres as we jump on to lap 4. Now behind Fire, had to give up the position. He had so much more pace than me. But yeah, we're trying to keep all that heat and that tyre wear onto the fronts rather than the rears. At the moment though, you can see there, we're doing a pretty incredible job on the tyres. Considering we're driving the McLaren, we've got the heavy fuel on, we've got the soft tyres. You can see I'm really doing quite a nice job on them rear tyres. I was actually really happy with this on this first stint. And I was thinking we can probably go for a 2-stop. Now the plan was to do a 3-stop originally when we started this race. However, at this point now, I was thinking to myself, we might as well try something different. We're in P10, we've gained 1 position. A 2-stop might get lucky with other cars battling, and we can maybe get a P7 or P8, and that would have pretty much done me in the first race of the day. Points would have been okay. I wouldn't have raced again because there was not really much point. The McLaren just wasn't strong enough. So if we can make this work, it could be a really nice result. So just trying to be very sensible on this lap 4. Lap 5 is going to get a little bit sketchy, obviously, with the tyre wear, but I felt like we could do this. We were in a good position with the tyre management, comparing to other cars. when we get to a point, we're going to show you the management compared to the other cars after. And yeah, I felt like we could do it. So just trying to follow in slipstream of Fire for as long as possible. You can see he's almost out of it at the moment. He obviously got very good pace in the race. I think it was just lacking a bit of qualifying time, that Nissan GTR, compared to like the likes of the Lamborghini and the NSX. This track really does suit them cars, and the Audi R8 in particular. Very strong cars in qualifying. So I decided we're going to risk this. We're going to stay out and do 5 laps on the soft. Now this was quite a hard task, but looking at the tyre management and the way the tyres are, they're looking reasonable. I felt like we could do this. So unfortunately though, this is the awkward situation. We've come out right in front of the leaders. We've got TRR Lightning on fresh tyres right behind me. Now I wanted to let them go as soon as I could safely. I didn't want to obviously lose time. I need to keep my pace up as well. I've still got my own race to consider. We're not getting lapped. We're in a battle here still technically, but I'm sensible. I will try and let them through as soon as I can physically do it. So into the braking zone, they're a bit too far behind there, so I'm just going to take a tight line here, and I was planning to let him go through the left-hand side. However, the oversteer moment there, middle of the corner, you saw the car twitch, had to save it and then go to the inside. Decided to try and let him around the outside, but B Racer gives us a shunt up the rear, and then again just decides to keep pushing and completely sends us to the shadow realm. And you can see by my reaction, was not best pleased about that on the live stream, but all is okay. He apologised. I think the tyre wear differences caught him out. Let's ride on board with B Racing now, and you'll see why I was quite annoyed. I think he just got caught up in the moment of trying to get past TRR Lightning. Obviously saw an opportunity, but my car was there, hit us there, and then hit us again here, and just kept pushing us all the way through the corner, and that was us gone. We're out the race. And our race was over pretty much from that point onwards. So unfortunately, we had to go again. But let's just take a look at why we did that 5 stop. Look at our tyre management compared to a lot of other cars. You can see that my rear tyres were in pretty amazing condition for an MR car. Way better than the Ford GT there ahead of us. Even some of the FR cars, we actually had better rear tyres than the Nissan. I'm guessing that Fire wasn't really being overly looking after them rear tyres. Probably trying to save some of his front tyres as well for this type of track. But even compared to Lightning, our rear tyres were actually pretty much equal, but our front tyres were better. That is probably because Lightning was pushing through the corners a lot more than what I was. If I started to push, my tyres would have died. So, yeah, pretty happy with the tyre management in that race. So we move ahead to the final race of the day. This was the final opportunity to get a result. We had a pretty disastrous day. We'd had some average results down in P10, 11. Wasn't enough points for me to really feel happy with leaving it. So final race starting from P7. This is going to be the final opportunity to get rid of that 87 points and just put something solid up there. So starting from P7, let's see what we can do. Lights are about to go out and we start this race with the rolling start as usual. At least this rolling start at this track is a little bit closer. The field spread's not as bad as some other tracks. Obviously with the long straight you'll find that the cars bunch up towards the braking zone as well, but I would still like them to get that 2x2 rolling start sorted as soon as possible. It will make these starts so much more entertaining. So going into turn 1, first aim, we've got to get past Fire. Fire was running the hard tyres, we're on the soft tyres. You can see the difference in grip straight away there. There's nothing you can do against a tyre difference from soft to hard, especially at the first lap. Hard tyres take that extra bit of time to warm up. So straight away past Fire and into the slipstream of the Ferrari in front of us. Now, I was expecting this Ferrari to suffer on tyre wear because obviously we all know that the Ferrari is pretty bad on tyres. Well, it used to be anyway. Let's just keep an eye on that Ferrari throughout this race and just see how it seems to be coping with the tyres. We're in the slipstream, and at this point, this was the final race day. Obviously, we'd got ourselves quite used to the combination, and I felt pretty comfortable with the car now. I was starting to get used to where I could push. I started to realise certain zones that I wasn't getting the most out of the car. And in this final race, I really wanted to try the 3 stopper. I thought, do you know what, the 2 stopper is not going to work, because what happens is you come out the pits, you've got when you go to extend your stint, you've got people coming out of the pits, and they want to get past it. It all becomes a bit chaotic, especially with no penalty system basically in the game at the moment. It's too risky, so I thought at least the 3 stopper will give us tyres that are going to be drivable. It's less risky for us. It means possibly more overtaking if you get caught behind people, but I felt like it was the safest way and probably the best way to go in the McLaren, because the car wasn't really strong enough in pace wise over 1 lap to even be driving too cautiously. So yeah, we're going to go for the 3 stop on this race and push and see what we can get out of this. So sticking to the slipstream like everyone does in these races, trying to follow, make sure that you stay in the draft, because the draft is so important at every track now. It's a bit worrying that we're at a Group 3 race at Catalunya and you have people stuck to people's bumpers in qualifying, and that's because it's overpowered. They really do need to get this situation under control, and I'm sure something will be getting sorted or looked at behind the scenes. Hopefully they can action it quicker than other stuff in the past, because they do tend to take quite a while. As we have a little look at that replay camera going through the first sector, very close racing so far. You can see P1 still within touching distance. You can see everyone seems to be in the slipstream. Looks like P3 is dropping slightly out of range of T-GT in the R8. Obviously the Audi R8 was one of the best cars over one lap, but again that car is going to suffer with the rear tyres. Again, it's going to have issues, but it has definitely got the pace in terms of overall qualifying and race pace when the tyres are there, so it's going to be hard to even get anywhere near the Audi, etc. And the Ferrari I think also was quite a solid car for the track, but again it's going to suffer with them tyres. I think the Lexus was probably the best race car in this group. The Lexus does tend to be quite solid actually at handling tracks, especially when there's tyre wear involved, because obviously it's the FR car. So it does tend to do well. We've got the AMG behind us driven by WDP. That is going to be a tough car to even challenge in this race, because obviously AMG tyre wear very strong, and the AMG is a pretty solid car around this track anyway. So yeah, it's going to be very difficult to get any sort of result out of this, but we're going to keep going all the way to the end and try and get ourselves some solid points. They're really attacking the curbs there. You can see you have to be very, very careful on them curbs. Them curbs on the last chicane can literally end your race within a matter of seconds. It can bite you out and spit you out into the gravel, and your race will be over as we go over the line to start lap 3. And now looking like a solid start to the race. We're going to skip ahead to the pit stop phase. You can see jumping on to the end of lap 4 now. Coming into the end of lap 4, you can see we're still in the slipstream to P5. You can see we've got a bit of a gap to the drivers behind us. We're driving this really well. We've been pushing quite well. You can see the lap times are solid, they're consistent, and the tyre wear looks, you can see the difference between the tyre wear this time to the time before, because I've had to push a little bit more aggressively on this first stint to try and make sure we stay in the slipstream. So not really worrying about the tyres this time. We are still looking after the tyres with the shifting, but we're not being as cautious as we was in that opening race, because we're going to pit on this lap 4. So into the pits, we did notice them. If you would have seen that, it looked like Steve Gaming picked up a penalty as we put another set of soft tyres on, and actually that is not Steve Gaming. That looks like I think it's a Corvette up there, or an AMG, another AMG possibly, that's actually got the penalty. So sorry about that, it wasn't Steve Gaming. So yeah, we possibly might be getting a situation where cars are going to get bunched together when that car takes its penalty. So this should be interesting, trying to make sure we stay in the slipstream on this outlap to make sure that any opportunities that arise we can take advantage of, because if they bunch up together side by side, people could get punted off the track, anything could happen here. So let's keep with this action, let's try and make sure we stay in the slipstream through these corners. But it's very, like I say, this is a really hard situation again, because you've still got to look after the tyres. You can see that slipstream range is increasing a bit now. We're up to 1 second to the car in front, so this was getting a bit worrying for myself at the moment, because I know I've got to push, but I know what happens when you push the McLaren around this track. It gets very iffy on the tyres towards the end of the stint, so trying to push while still looking after the rear tyres is going to be needed here. But you can see the car up ahead takes that penalty there. He's going to have to go a bit defensive into the braking zone. You saw him just move over to left just to say, like, don't even go for that move, and he covers that off nicely. And this has actually helped me out now, because you've got the Ferrari that's right up behind that Mercedes, and that should bring the slipstream range just a little bit closer to myself now, so should actually help us out in this area in terms of picking up the draft a little bit easier down the main straight. You can see the leaders in the race still actually not that far off in front. You can see that the P1's just gone in the pits. He's extended his stint, so he's going for a little bit of a different stint in this race, possibly going a 2-stopper, obviously with the 5 laps on the soft, probably going to do a 5.54, something like that. I think some of the other cars might have to do a slightly different strategy to that. So we come to rejoin the race now towards the end of the second stint on the soft tyres, and you can see we've got Steve Gaiman in front of us now with a penalty. So he's actually picked up half a second penalty somewhere, probably a track limit infringement, picking up just a small penalty on one of the corners, probably running wide. Probably one of them really daft penalties on the game where you don't gain anything, but the game just penalises you. A bit silly. Again, I really hope they bring some sort of strike system in for that, a free strike system for them half a second ones, because I don't think we need to punish someone just for running wide once in a 25-minute race. Fair enough if it's a blatant corner cut and it gains time, then yeah, but not for little ones like that. So in P6 at the moment, looks like we're going to be able to get ourselves up to P5. However, we're obviously slightly out of sync with this race. We've got cars that are going to be behind us that are going to be challenging us towards the end of the race because they're on different strategies. Particularly, we've got the AMG behind us that can do a two-stopper. We've got FIA that started on hard tyres that can do a two-stopper. So we're going to be on the threat towards the end, but we managed to get that move as Steve Gaming then looks like he was going to go back through the move there, so I had to get off the brakes a bit and go wide through the corner, which I made sure I did to give him the space on the inside, and we get away with that and just keep ourselves in P5. However, look at the gap between ourselves and P4 now on this in lap. We're going to have to really push and make sure we fly into the pit lane to make sure that we don't lose a slipstream when we come out of the pit. So this lap we're going to pit again. These races are getting a little bit silly in my opinion, pitting every 4 laps or so. A little bit daft, Polyphony. Let's go back to this lower tyre ratio. We don't need this tyre wear this high, but it seems to be going back that way again, even though the race was a little bit longer this time. I think it was 24 minutes or so, but yeah, I think it was a little bit excessive, this tyre wear. I think it could have been a couple of notches lower just to make the MR cars able to do a two-stopper at least, as we now come out the pits and we're still in P7. Now we're going to be able to go to lap 12 probably. We could possibly have gone to lap 13. It would all depend on whether there was a slipstream available to keep our pace up, but we're going to follow P6 and just hang on for as long as possible. At the moment, that Ferrari has been doing particularly well on the tyres. I was quite shocked, to be honest, because I didn't think it would be as strong as that. So that's quite interesting that the Ferrari seems quite reasonable on the tyres. It seems just as good as the McLaren, and it's probably a faster car around the tracks because the handling on that car is actually pretty good. So that's quite interesting to bear in mind for future picks in FIA maybe. I don't know. I'm still not sure what I will end up going in terms of an official season. I really have no idea at all. So we don't know. It could be the McLaren again, it could be Mercedes, it could be Porsche, it could be Ferrari, it could be anything, as we now come through to the middle sector now. Trying to chuck the car into this really fast right hand corner, trying to carry speed through there to get ourselves fully in the draft zone. You see, gaining a bit of time now once we're into that draft, and then into the braking zone again, being cautious before we go into first gear. We're not just going to downshift as soon as possible, because if we do that, then rear tyres are going to lock up and we're going to take a lot of life out of them. But at the moment, this is quite a hard situation. We've got a very fast car at this track in race conditions behind us, and Steve Gaming, a very fast driver, driving a fast car. So we're going to have to be careful and try and make sure we defend where possible. As long as we keep the slipstream though, we should be alright in the straights. You're going to see, I think on this straight now, you're going to see that the Porsche just doesn't have the ability with the current slipstream system, and this is kind of a little bit daft really. I think, you know, we're 1.1 over a 4 second behind P2. Now Steve's going to get the slipstream, he's going to pull out, watch, he pulls out and he can't do nothing with it. That shows you just how wrong this slipstream system is, because he should have been able to at least get side by side into the braking zone and go for a move there, but luckily for me, wasn't able to do it. We're still in P5 and we're going to have quite a battle here. You can see that WDP in P8 I think has pitted for his hard tyres. We've got a bit of a gap to him, however we obviously still need to put them hard tyres on. So this is going to be interesting as we follow the race on lap 10, trying to put some good lap times in at the moment. Obviously the tyres still fairly okay. You can see on the telemetry there's a lot of grip still there. As we jump to that replay camera and just look at how close Steve Gaming is behind us, putting us under quite a bit of pressure, having to make sure that we take the right lines into these corners to defend, whilst we've still got the slipstream to the car in front. So quite tactical driving. I know I'm in the slipstream, so I know I can position the car correctly and keep reasonable lap pace as well. We just need to make sure that we don't leave any doors open so we can go for a move and then we lose out time overall. Because at the moment we've got slipstream, you can see we've got the slipstream with that Ferrari in front of us. However, I think he's going to go for a move as TGT there goes for a move on the car. The other TX3 driver, as we have a three TX3 drivers all very close together on the track at the moment, as we're now approaching 2 of them. And it looks like the Ferrari actually got past the other TX3 driver there. It looks like TGT was actually going for an overtake on the TX3 driver. So yeah, we're going to be now approaching the other TX3 driver in front of us. We've got 3 TX3 drivers all around us. So TX3 doing quite well in this race as we now come through. As he pits, gets out of our way. That's actually quite nice, because now that gives me now a clean run to the Ferrari again in front of us. And we've got TGT obviously defending on, I believe, must have been the hard tyres at this stage of the race. Probably pitted early, something that I could have probably done. Maybe if I would have extended to lap 9 and then pitted for the hards, we could have gone for this strategy. I really don't know if it would have worked though, as we now, it all depends on traffic. As TGT there gets all out of shape, we're going to go really to the left now. We've got the softer tyre, and so we're going to try and get a better entry into the corner, giving ourselves much better exit speed. You can see that's really worked out. We know he's on the harder tyre, I could tell straight away, so I know that the grip's going to be higher. So we get the inside line into the braking zone and we get that moved on. So quite comfortably there. You can see he's on the outside, not really much he can do. He's not got the grip compared to the soft tyre, so we take that position, although we still need to pit. So good job we got it done though, because we didn't want to get held up behind the hard tyre runner at this stage of the race. We still got to do another lap after this, so the softs will be more competitive than the hard, although the hards on that lap 4, they should start coming back a little bit towards the soft. You can see obviously we've got a bit of tyre wear on the telemetry, so yeah, it's going to come back a bit towards the end. But at this stage, on lap 11 at the moment, on the 3rd lap of the tyres, we have a massive moment for the Ferrari in front of us. Just take a look at this now, an absolutely amazing save, and it looks like Super GT will have to wait another day for that Shadow Realm entry. So good for the Ferrari, but bad for us. I genuinely thought that was going to be another free position that we'd gain in this race as the Ferrari starts to struggle on the tyres, but seems to be able to cope with it, and he got away with that one. Brilliant save, and maintains his P2 position currently in this race. Now obviously we are out of sync in this race at the moment, because we're going to need to pit on lap 12 or 13 depending on whether you would want to risk it or not. Now in my eyes, I would go to lap 13 if I had the slipstream of a hard tyre runner. So if we could have got within SVDR's slipstream range, we might have been able to make it work and have some pretty good speed on our 13th lap. However, it'd all depend if we could get in that slipstream range. As you can see, P2 trying to get in that range. I'm following the slipstream of P2, and now we skip ahead to the end of lap 12 now, and you can see we've actually got very close to P2, but I wasn't sure if we'd be able to get in the slipstream of P1. We get quite a good exit off here, but you can see I think we would just have been outside the slipstream range of that Lexus. It would have had a bit better acceleration through that corner, so we decided to pit with the Ferrari on lap 12, leaving us just 2 laps on the hard tyres. Now the advantage we're going to have is we're going to have slightly fresher hard tyres over some of the people that pitted 2 to 3 laps earlier. So it depends where we come out now. As you see, coming out of the pits, we see WDP, who pitted and went on a 2-stop strategy, is only just in front of us. So that has kind of worked out quite nice for us, that we're coming out behind with much fresher, harder tyres, and this is going to be interesting. Obviously the Mercedes is one of the better cars when it comes to tyre wear, so it'll all be down to whether we can catch him and then actually make a move on that Mercedes. It's going to be tough. Mercedes has got quite a lot of torque in that car, pretty hard car to overtake, especially if it's managing to get a slipstream off another car. So down into P7 though, and to be fair, reasonably happy with P7 if I'm honest. You can see Fire up into P3 with that strategy he was on. Incredible job getting his way up to P3. But P7 for the McLaren, I was actually going to be quite happy with coming home in P7. I've driven pretty much a faultless race. We haven't really made any mistakes in this race. Drove it sensibly, kept it on the apexes, kept it nice and clean, not made any mistakes, not took any risks, drove pretty much the ideal race. So this is pretty much the peak of what I could have got out of this McLaren. I think maybe we could have got, maybe if we drove a little bit faster than some, we could have come out of the pits ahead of WDP, but even that, it would have been pushing it, because with obviously that Mercedes being very good, but WDP makes an error there in the braking zone, seem to be struggling into that braking zone, and the Ferrari manages to get ahead. So Ferrari gets through. Now we've got to see if we can get through, and this is going to be harder for ourselves to actually get past now, because obviously WDP is going to have that slipstream to that Ferrari down the straights, which is going to make that Mercedes extremely difficult to get past on. Another car that is quite strong in the slipstream is a Mercedes. It gets quite good slipstream in speed, so that's going to be a tough one to get past. As we're now coming to the final lap of this 14-lap race, we're looking to get past Mercedes. We've got the Porsche behind us also looking to get past us. This is going to be quite an eventful last lap possibly at Catalunya in these Group 3 cars. You can see WDP going defensive. I decided to just brake early, let him try and make him brake late, and then try and tuck up on the inside and get a better line through it. But you can see very hard to still make a move. We're both on obviously the same tyres, but ours are a little bit fresher obviously, so we do have a bit more grip through the corners, which you can see on the entry. We can carry more speed, and then we're actually able to carry more speed on the exit as well. So again, he's going to have to go defensive there in case I lunge it up the inside. I wasn't going to do that though. I was just going to plan on trying to see if he'd make a mistake somewhere, but at the moment he's driving it very well. Clever defensive driving, making sure that he goes defensive as well early into the corners, and if you do that, you pretty much stop people from being able to go for a lunge. You're basically showing your intent at defending that line. So I'm not going to try and do something if he's defending the line. We're just going to try and work this one out. We've got a couple of corners to try and get this position. Currently in P7, we don't want to risk anything. We've got P8 right behind. Looking in the mirror, you can see Steve Gaming there very close behind. And one thing I'd have to say is Steve Gaming definitely seems to have picked up his game when it comes to racecraft, and how clean he drives. He's less lungy into some of the corners now, and it's actually quite enjoyable to drive now against Steve Gaming. And WDP there makes a mistake. You could see we're going to go side by side with Steve Gaming. We're going to have to hold it inside now as he's going to try and hang it around the outside. Brilliant driving here going on the replay camera. You can see absolutely amazing as we go side by side. A little bit of contact there, nothing too harsh. Steve actually gives us a little tap into the braking there, but it wasn't deliberate. We all get away with that, no issue, and we all carry on. So we went for it. We tried to get past WDP as he made that mistake. That then left myself vulnerable to Steve Gaming. Quite a close ending there as we nearly lose a position while trying to gain a position, and we finish in P6 because FIA decided to let everyone go through in the top 7 places because the points for P1 were not good enough to increase his score overall. So he actually had no need to get the points, and he actually decided to give everyone the points. So credit to FIA for that one. Thank you very much for the 3 points, mate. And we come away with a respectable P6 in the end. So not too bad. Pretty much the best we could hope for in McLaren, and 263 points. So not brilliant points if I'm brutally honest, but they're solid points for the car at that track. So we're pretty happy. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that video. Make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you hit the subscription button if you haven't already hit it. And let me know in the comment section with any thoughts on that race. Thanks again for watching, everyone.